Welcome into Open Mic Night, the only podcast in the world. It's the evening of February 6th, and we got a big one tomorrow taking place. Storylines abound, uncertainties, X factors, left and right. That's right, Knicks Heat tomorrow. No, I'm joking. So getting into Super Bowl 55, I got a couple things I want to get into, but the first thing I really want to talk about is the Brady-Belichick thing, because I feel like we're doing this thing again where we're so eager and quick to try to decide who won that we've already crowned Tom Brady as the winner of that dispute. And I would just remind everybody to take a second before you rush to that judgment, because although it may seem like, listen, Tom Brady went out on the market and he found himself a nice little rebound, but remember back to when Brett Favre left and started seemingly tearing it up with the Jets, and then even after leaving the Jets, going to Minnesota and taking them to an NFC Championship game, and people really thought that maybe Brett Favre, or maybe the Packers should have regretted leaving Brett Favre, but it turned out obviously they had Aaron Rodgers. They were making the right decision there. You think back to guys like Joe Montana leaving the 49ers, going to the Chiefs, taking them to an AFC Championship game pretty immediately after leaving, but then eventually not really doing much else after that. And you really wonder how much of Brady, is this Brady's last year maybe? How much does he actually have left? If this does end up being the peak of what Brady can do without Belichick, does that still consider that to be a positive breakup, or Brady winning the breakup? Because I'm not necessarily sure if Brady just makes one Super Bowl, one NFC pennant, so to speak, that Bill Belichick would really feel like a loser in this type of situation, finally getting to restart and rebuild his franchise. I think he actually enjoys that sort of process and really doesn't mind the spot where the Patriots are in as an organization. But getting onto the Buccaneers, as the Patriots are finally not even in the Super Bowl, this Bucs team sort of has a lot of similarities to teams that beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. You look back at teams like the Giants teams who beat Brady with rushing to the passer with 4 on the line, and that's very similar to what the Bucs have right now with guys like Shaq Lawson and Jason Pierre-Paul. Jason Pierre-Paul, I honestly think, has a sneaky shot to win this Super Bowl MVP. If Jason Pierre-Paul can disrupt things in this game, and that Chiefs offensive line is battered and beat up. I mean, they're losing the majority of their starters from their Super Bowl start last year, and that you got to think that sort of affects that Chiefs offense a little bit. Now, the problem with that Chiefs offense is that Patrick Mahomes can take 7, 9, 11-step drops because he can compensate with just that unparalleled arm talent that he has. But I do think that that's probably the factor here in this game, is if the Bucs can pressure Mahomes and try to get him uncomfortable, make him move his feet a little bit. Although he's great moving his feet, it's not like he's Brady moving his feet, but I don't think that the Chiefs are very keen on letting Mahomes get hit. Is therefore the Bucs' best chance of maybe sort of rattling Mahomes, if you will. But Brady is going to need Brady's guys to make plays for him. Brady is going to need to show the world why he left New England in this game. And by that I mean he needs the guys that he didn't have in New England to play for him in this game. He needs Mike Evans to make plays. He needs guys like Chris Godwin to make plays, who hasn't actually been all that good this year. Guys like rookies like Antoine Winfield Jr. maybe in the back of that defense, maybe coming up with a ball, a fumble, punch one out, a pick, something along those lines, where just something that, Tom Brady is going to see happen and point at that guy and say, listen, that's why I left New England. That's why I came here. That's why I surrounded myself with talent, because I needed to adjust to my progression. I will provide the experience. I will provide the calmness. I will provide that leadership that we need here, but I need other guys to make plays. And I don't think he's got a bad roster to do that. Honestly, if you line these two rosters up, 52 versus 52, the Tampa Bay Bucs have a really good argument for having the better of the two. Like I said, that Chiefs offensive line is just tattered and torn. And the defense is more of a front seven and an opportunistic defense, and they sort of play knowing that they have Patrick Mahomes, which who can blame them, but they are more focused and predicated on that front four, trying to get pressure. Their linebackers are not anything special, and they really just rely on honey badgers sort of flying around sideline to sideline and making plays for them. They definitely can be poached. We saw it earlier this year when in their only loss, the Raiders put up like a 40-something spot on them and won a shootout, and I believe that was in Arrowhead too, which is interesting. But that actually segues into another interesting point of, I wonder how the crowd will be there. Now, it's always the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl never really swings one way or the other, it seems like, but this is a unique situation with the pandemic. I'm not really sure how many companies are that eager to give away tickets, which you always hear is normally what most of those tickets end up being. And to top it all off, I mean, Floridians probably aren't very hesitant to go to a football game right now. They do enjoy the occasional group outing. Although they did not allow the Tampa Bay Bucks are not going to be allowed to fire the cannons after scores, which I thought was funny and interesting that the NFL actually had to sort of release that public statement saying that it wasn't allowed because it would be creating a home field advantage. I don't know. Seems a little bit much. I thought it would have been cool. But nevertheless, this Brady team is sort of similar to, like I said, those Giants teams that beat him in the Super Bowl. Those giant games that sort of made Eli Manning into a Hall of Famer. Tom Brady did make Eli Manning into a Hall of Famer. People need to remember that. But I think now I'm confusing the two of them because they're so similar. I do think Tom Brady's best chance of winning this Super Bowl with the Bucs is, I do think it's going to be for the Bucs to win, a super slow, super methodical first half. Teams feeling each other out, sort of keeping that ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands for the first half. A lot of Leonard Fournette for sure. A lot of 2, 3, 4-yard runs. 28, refusing to hit the hole hard. I will be interested to see if Brady is looking more for his tight ends or his receivers, or maybe a little bit of both. I think probably both will be a big factor in this game, trying to get open against that Chiefs sort of weaker secondary. And with Tom Brady's experience, what is he going to be looking for in this type of moment, in these type of spots, depending on how the game's going, the flow of the game, all that. And really, that's what this Super Bowl, I think, is coming down to, is a battle between experience and talent. On the other side of the ball is the talent. It is Patrick Mahomes, the strongest arm we've ever seen in the history of the league. Tyreek Hill, maybe the fastest player we've ever seen in the history of the league. And Travis Kelce, maybe the greatest possession tight end we've ever seen in the history of the league. None of those, I think those are the three most talented players that Tom Brady has ever had to go against in a Super Bowl. I don't think any other team has ever had that good of a, not even good, potent of a core offensively on the other side of the ball that Tom Brady can't control at all, that Tom Brady can't game plan, that Tom Brady really, the best thing he can do is just hold on to the ball when he has it, hoping that Mahomes doesn't get to touch that much. But I want to do a little bit of a deep dive into Mahomes because although I think maybe Brady has a little bit more to gain from a legacy standpoint, not even a little bit more, a lot more probably, and I definitely think it's more to lose, because if he does lose, then you might begin to hear a little bit of that Belichick, maybe did he won the divorce, a little bit of that chatter. But Mahomes, if he is able to win tomorrow, Patrick Mahomes should retire on Monday. And here's why. Because I want him to walk across the Hall of Fame stage at exactly 30 years old. Seriously, if the Chiefs win tomorrow, Patrick Mahomes becomes the 13th starting quarterback in NFL history with multiple Super Bowl victories. In the other dozen to do it, 2 of them are still playing, Tom Brady and Big Ben. Of the other 10, 9 of them have made the Hall of Fame, with the odd man out being Jim Plunkett, who many will argue, actually, that he does have a little bit of a Hall of Fame case. I believe he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. I know he won a Heisman. But 90% of quarterbacks to win multiple Super Bowls are going to make the Hall of Fame, and I got to imagine that number's going to jump up a little bit with the addition of Roethlisberger and Brady. Amongst quarterbacks with 50 career starts, Patrick Mahomes has the number 1 career winning percentage. Number 2 on that list, Brady. 3 Staubach, 4 Montana, 5 Peyton Manning. He's only one of 3 quarterbacks ever to throw for 50 touchdowns in a season. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. He has more career touchdowns already at 25 years old in his 3rd year in the league than 4 current serving Hall of Famers. So I believe really that, and maybe I'm a year off from this take, I think maybe he could do one more season and get it to an even 4. But right now, I do believe that with 1 MVP, it'll be 3 Super Bowls. 3 Pro Bowls. He's had a Pro Bowl in every year that he's been a starter. All pro teams, and now multiple Super Bowls. I genuinely believe that. I think Patrick Mahomes, now he would piss everybody off so nobody would vote for him by doing it, but I think if Patrick Mahomes wanted to play baseball and try to go start a baseball Hall of Fame career too, he already would have NFL locked up in the bag if he won tomorrow. His career ranks are unbelievable when you look at it. In career ranks, he's number 1 in passing yards per game. He's number 1 in passing interception percentage. He's number 5 in completion percentage. Number 2 in passes completed per game. He's number 1 in passer rating. Number 1 in QBR. He's got all the numbers. Really, all you have on him is counting stats, and that would be maybe his career touchdown numbers. His interception rate is the best in anybody's career. And like I said, he already has 114 career touchdowns. That's higher than a lot of guys that you watch play football for 15, 20 years. And like I said, 4 of which are already in the Hall of Fame. Multiple Super Bowl winners on that list that he's ahead of already. I do believe that he would actually maybe have the best case for, or maybe I should put it, the youngest Hall of Fame case in the history of the NFL would be Patrick Mahomes. And I almost, when you think about it in those terms, you wonder, does Mahomes have more on the line than Brady in this game? Because Mahomes can start to chip away at that Brady best player of all time debate with the win over him right now. I don't know if Mahomes can make that case a best NFL player of all time if he can't beat Brady. I think he almost needs this as sort of validation on his resume. That sort of, taking of the guard, so to speak. I think he could run into a little bit of an issue. Now, they've had a little bit of a different career arc because it took him so long to finally win, but he could sort of run into the similar criticism that LeBron has heard his whole life with. He could never really reach that sort of mythology, that sort of deity that everybody gave Jordan, in which Mahomes' case would be Brady, of, that competitiveness, that, winner's spirit, and the idea of maybe he needed other guys around him, Mahomes, I'm speaking about, to win. Guys like Hill, guys like Travis Kelce, Andy Reid. Maybe he starts to get a little bit of that talk around him if he does lose. So, you wonder how much could a loss maybe hurt Mahomes' legacy here. But I really do believe that a win could, for Mahomes' legacy, does the most out of any of these outcomes. Brady losing, Brady winning, Mahomes losing, Mahomes winning. I think if Patrick Mahomes wins the Super Bowl tomorrow with the Chiefs, I do believe that the best player of all time in the history of the NFL. I mean, the combination of talent and accomplishment. It looks like nobody's had as good a start as Mahomes. And, it's definitely to the point where if he wins this weekend, nobody can even come close to those first 5 years. Nobody's done. You could start to argue who's done more in American sports at 25 and under than Patrick Mahomes if he could pull off another Super Bowl victory tomorrow. Which brings us to the fun stuff. Predictions, prognostications, and picks. There's a little bit of alliteration there for you for your 6th grade language arts teachers. Looking at the line here, it is 3.5 everywhere in favor of the Chiefs. That half is a little bit of a pain in the butt because of that that field goal football number. I feel like most of Brady's Super Bowls have been decided on field goals or one possessions too. It's, I definitely don't see the Bucs blowing out the Chiefs. I mean, I do think the Chiefs could maybe put up a scary number on the Bucs if things start to go awry, but I'd be shocked if the Bucs dominating this game would not look like a blowout. The Bucs dominating this game would look like, 20-13, 28-17, something like that, something low where Mahomes maybe only got like 5 or 6 possessions and 1 or 2 of them ended with weird penalties or turnover here or there, tip ball, something like that. I don't think I could see the situation where the Bucs blow the Chiefs out. So now you're sort of more looking at, well, can the Bucs win close or can the Bucs keep it close within that number? I think if the Chiefs win, they're winning and covering. I don't think they're going to win within that 3.5 number. I do believe that if the Chiefs have to win a close game, if the Chiefs have to win a close game, if they need like a game-winning possession, a game-winning drive, it feels like it'll be a Mahomes touchdown. That's just a feeling. There's no empirical evidence or information behind it, but it feels like it's always a Mahomes touchdown. Which maybe sort of, you can tell which way I'm leaning there. I do think that the Chiefs are going to cover and win this game. Now, like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bucs win. I think that if the Bucs win, the Bucs are winning with their front 4 defensive linemen. I think Jason Pierre-Paul makes a bunch of plays, things like that. But I just think at the end of the day, the talent on the offensive side of the Chiefs, I just don't think anybody could stop them. As good as that Bucs defense is, I think the Chiefs are going to end up putting a 30 number on the board. And, I wonder if the Bucs can play enough mistake-free football to hang around with them. You saw Brady throw 3 picks last game. I don't know if you could rely on him to be that no interception type of guy he always was, because he's going to have to be forced to make a lot of some throws where his arm talent isn't where it used to be, and the windows are going to close quicker. So I wouldn't love a spot for the Bucs where they're trying to come back from something. I think they want to try to control the game if they want to win this game. But I got to pick the Chiefs here. I think that the talent is just too big. I think that the Chiefs are going to put up a 30 spot. And I think Mahomes does start to build that case of becoming possibly the greatest football player of all time. Looking more into more the fun aspect of the gambling side, looking at props, things of that nature. I do like now the total's pretty high. I gotta imagine it's one of the highest Super Bowls ever with 55.5. I really would lean more under. I think it's going to be slow in the first half. I'd definitely be all over first half under. I think it's definitely going to start slow and then maybe pick up in that third quarter. But I don't think that it's going to be a shootout per se. But then again, I don't know. Most NFL games, I feel like this playoffs have been going under, but we'll see what happens. Looking at the touchdown scores, though, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I like Gronk. I really do like Gronk. He doesn't even have that much great value, plus 220. I actually think I like Gronk maybe if you wanted to look more into a second half touchdown, plus 450, I believe the odds were. Or maybe even Gronk to score multiple touchdowns, I believe, at plus 1,600. But, Brady does like to look for him, likes to try to rely on his guys sort of in these type of moments. But another one I love is the Patrick Mahomes rushing prop. Over 23.5. He runs the ball in the playoffs. He scrambles and he will find extra yards running down that sideline, holding the ball out with one hand, palming the basketball, almost mocking the defense. Like, okay, yeah, you finally got me to not throw the ball. Watch me run all over you. So I do love the Mahomes rushing prop, especially always in the playoffs. Look for Tom Brady to maybe anytime score a touchdown. They do love to rely on him, although it seems like they haven't been doing it as much this year because they have those great tight ends and they have Mike Evans. So maybe not. I might have just talked myself out of that pick as a matter of fact, but I digress. And then obviously we're going to finish out the card with tails, because tails has never once failed in the history of coin tosses. So then I think that brings my official picks to, I gotta clean up those touchdown props a little bit. So I think I'm gonna go locked in Chiefs -3 in the hook. I do, if you could try to find maybe a Bucks first half, Chiefs full game double result. I was looking at them earlier. I saw what I just said at, I believe, +660. Maybe even a draw into a Chiefs win. Those draws do bring a lot of value typically. I believe I saw the draw to the Chiefs at +1600. But cleaning up my card for good, I'm going to say Chiefs -3 in the hook. I would play, of course, the tails on the opening kick, on the coin toss, and I think I would maybe let it sit there. If you wanted to play, I would take maybe the second half Gronk touchdown too. You know what? Add the second half Gronk touchdown, and those will be the 3 picks that I have. But then I would sit and wait. I would try to get a feel for the game, and I would definitely try to look who starts off slow and can I get them live to come back? Because both of these quarterbacks love, with a capital L, coming back to avoid the L. So I would definitely be interested in looking at live props, live bets, live money lines, all that. But that's actually going to conclude the official Open Mic Night Super Bowl 55 preview. We would like to thank our sponsors, FanDuel Sportsbook, for providing all of our lines today. And thank you for listening.